Right, this fly is the silver shrimp. It's quite a straightforward and easy fly to tie, and it's accounted for many salmon. It's another one of those sort of fabulous salmon flies that have proved to be excellent for sea trout in South Wales. There's quite a few like that devised for salmon and have proved to be good for sea trout, and this is one fly that definitely falls into that category. It was first tied by Graham Mackenzie of the Inverness Angling Club in the mid 70s. Now you'll see it's got a long tail and it's quite sparsely dressed, and you'll see it's got a jungle cock on its back, just one of them, a red head. Many theories have been put forward as to why salmon and sea trout find this fly attractive. It could be down to the shrimp style with this long tail, I don't know, or especially, and especially for sea trout, I would say that it's probably its black colour. Certainly for the sea trout in our part of the world in South Wales. There is a saying by some wags that you can use whatever colour fly you like for suing, as we call the sea trout in South Wales, as long as it's black. The strange thing is the long tail. Folcus, in his wonderful sea trout book, recommended cutting off any fly dressing that protruded past the hook bend. Well, opinions are changing on that one. I wouldn't want to argue with Folcus, but he had a different view. Now, this fly, I can tell you, will take migrating fish anywhere in the UK. It seems to work well in the smaller sizes and in midsummer when the water is warm. It should be dressed quite lightly. Okay, the hook I'm going to use is a low water double size 10, and I'll start the fly. Okay, now I'm going to use a red silk, which I've already waxed, and I'll just get things going. The double hook, when you tie on a double hook, you've got one exposed. I've got one of the hooks exposed on my side, so I'll be taking a bit of care on that. Now, the first part to go in is the tail, and that's mixed with some crystal hair, so I'll get that ready. And the tail is black bucktail. So this is a bucktail here, very nice black colour. I pick some out, and the thing is, I don't want it too heavy. So let me just have a look. Something like that. I will try to stack it a bit, I think. I'll see what I'm left with when I get the rubbish out. Just bear with me. I'm removing the under fur here, the sort of bump as we tend to call it. I don't like to stack, that's getting all the ends lined up, too much. I prefer a tapered look about it. Actually, I think that's going to be fine. Now, the tail should be about a length and a half of the body, so it's about there. That's where I like to have it. Now that I've got this bit prepared here, I'm going to put on some of the crystal hair that I spoke about. This is the crystal hair. I like to use about 3 strands, so bear with me while I just cut some ready to put on. I've got 2 here. I'm sorry I'm out of camera for this, but I'll put these 2 and I'll come back for another in a moment. There's two. Just nip that a bit. It don't need to be the same length, in fact. It's better if they're not the same length because they'll have a sort of taper to them. And this is the third one. You could tie them all in together or put them on separately like this. I find with certain materials it's better to put them on separately. It all depends. Okay, I'll just snip out these surplus stalks here, like that. And I'll get back to the tail, the hair that I planned. So this is how it'll be, just like that. And I'll tie it down nice and firm. Like this, just sort of like that. Cut it off. Just have a look at it. A couple little bits, they won't matter at all. Now I'm going to put in the tag, and I'm going to use a silver twist for the tag. This is the Uni Silver Twist. Now this is I'm going to use the same for the rib, and you could, if you want to, use the same piece for the rib, but I like to put them in separately. I think it makes it a little bit neater, but it's up to you. You'll see what I'm doing in a moment. Okay, that's the material for the tag tied on, and I'll move my silk up the front and I'll wind this tag. When you wind a tag, do it in touching turns so you don't have any gaps showing, like where the red silk will show underneath. Can't see the far side of the fly, so I hope it's coming out okay. Right, I'll take my silk back down and I'll secure this loose end. Just like that. Going to shorten my silk a little bit because the camera gives me a bit of restriction. Okay, now that's the tag, and I'm going to cut it off because I find that it's a little bit, it looks a bit better to wind it. There's no real reason for that. Now I'm going to use the same material for the rib, and I tie this in here like this. Take the rib all the way up and back down. Now for the body is a silver, flat silver tinsel. I'm going to use the holographic, broad holographic silver. I think it looks much better. It's a fairly modern material. Well, it's a bit new to me. I like it very much. It gives a wonderful sparkle to the fly. So that goes in now on this side, just like this. Secure it all down. Okay, now I will now put some varnish on just to help to stick it. Move my silk up the front a little bit too, and I wind it. I'm trying to do this without my fingers blocking your view, so just bear with me. That's the body, and I'll rib it in a mo. Okay, this is the rib. Now we would normally counterwind the rib, but with a firm body like this, it doesn't matter. This goes up to there. When you're tying a fly like this, try not to tie off too many items on top of the shank, because it can form a lump and may affect your wing, the positioning of the wing. Okay, now I'm going to put on a jungle cock eye. Now the jungle cock, this is a jungle cock cape, and we select one from this. Now there's various ways of putting on the jungle cock. This is one I've got, I showed you earlier, and I put the jungle cock on before I put the hackle. I've got a couple of others here which I'll show you, where the jungle cock is on the side, and there's two of them, but the true tie-in has it on the top, the original tie-in, and it's normally tied on after the hackle, but I like it on before the hackle, because the hackle can tilt it up and somehow it doesn't look quite right. So now this has got to go on top, like this, on top of the middle of the hook, like that. Can you see that all right? And I'm trying to do this so that it's in the center of the top. Okay, that's the jungle cock on. I've given it a good few winds. It's on there nice and firm. Nip out the surplus. And now I'm going to put on a hackle. It's a black hackle, and it should be a cock hackle. And I'm going to use a cock hackle from this lovely saddle cape. But it should be a soft cock hackle. And when we get a soft cock hackle, which is a cross almost between a cock and a hen hackle, we call it a henny cock hackle. And I'll just pick out one of these at the back of the cape here, because they're a bit softer and not quite so sharp as the ones in the front, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. So I'll just take one out. Just bear with me. So this is what I'm going to use, and I'll strip off the waist like this. Well, I call it the rubbish, really. Take that away, about like that, and I will tie this in. Just tie it in on the side. If it was a dry fly, I'd put it on with a figure of 8, but it's not a dry fly, so it doesn't matter. Tied down nice and firm. Nip off that bit there. And I wind the hackle. Now I've drawn it down and I double the hackle. This is what we call doubling the hackle, when I draw everything back as I wind it, to give the sort of profile that is required on a wet fly. Like that, drawing back as I go, doubling it as I go, and that's enough, because this fly should be sparsely dressed, as I said earlier on. So that's it. I nip out the stalk. Sorry, it's not the stalk in this case, but you know what I mean. the bit of surplus hackle, and I'll use this for another fly. Okay, now that I'm there, I draw everything back with my fingers, hopefully, to tie it down. It's a teeny bit harder to draw things back when you've got a double hook because it catches. But this is going okay. This, I'm tying the head to secure the whole fly. Now I'm going to put on the whip finish before I varnish the head, and that completes the fly. My way of doing a whip finish, I get this top loop and I wind it around. That's 2, 3. I'm working towards the eye. 4, 5. Get my dubbing needle in the loop and I'll draw it up. Now I'll just cut the silk before I varnish the head. Now, had I put the jungle cock eye on top now, it would be sort of sticking up. And that doesn't really matter because when the fly is being fished, it'll lie down anyway. But I think it interferes with the pulsating of the hackle. It's a very minor point that you don't really need to worry about. It's entirely up to you. My recommendation is you put the jungle cock on before winding the hackle. And or you can put 2 on jungle cock cheeks. Okay, varnish is getting a bit tacky, a bit old. Okay, and that completes the silver shrimp. Wonderful Scottish salmon fly. That is very good for sea trout. Very good for sea trout in South Wales, I would say, for anywhere in the UK. I hope you enjoyed that, and I thank you for watching.